When I say the word budgeting, most people have a very cringeworthy face, but looking at the different research, the tips and tricks, everything you can do with budget, whether it is going in a budget worksheet, using an application, putting money into envelopes, using cash to pay for everything, most people can never stick to a budget. And in today's video, I want to talk about 5 budgeting hacks that actually make it a lot more easier and a lot more realistic when it does come to the budget. Now, I am a financial counselor and I work with a lot of people and a lot of budgets. And when I do mention budgets, this is really the point where I do see a lot of people shut down. And they shut down for good reason, because budgeting can be incredibly difficult, but it can also be very beneficial. Now, the first one we're going to look at is being realistic. This is one of the big parts. When you look at your budget, a lot of people try to stick to certain categories. They try to stick to exactly a dollar amount, saying, I'm allocating $100 for gas, $200 for groceries, $500 for rent, whatever it may be, not really dealing with the root cause of what the budgeting issue is, or being able to actually try to fix some of the overspending habits or some of the budgeting habits that we do see. Now, of course, you can pick one simple thing. Being realistic, making it simplified, really sticking to overspending. Where can you consciously cut some of the spending, try to cut back a little bit, not tracking every single dollar, more of kind of a spending plan than a budget itself. And even if we rename it, it kind of seems what it is. Now, of course, when you start thinking of a budget, there might be unexpected expenses that pop up. A lot of people, the budgets vary and the spending varies depending on month to month. Some months, a lot of people do save a little bit more money, spend a little bit more. And even in the summer months, we do see a lot more of the spending. So definitely being realistic with what you're spending. And I think more than being just realistic, it is being conscious on what you're spending. What value are you getting for what you're spending? And how are you using the money that you're earning? Second one we look at is updating the budget regularly, or the process regularly. Really looking at, and it can be super time consuming if you're spending a ton of time on the budget or the spending plan, but looking and thinking of on a daily basis. So if you go through and say, hey, I spent $72 today, that is it. That is all you're doing. You are categorizing kind of day by day. That way you have, again, that conscious effort of where your money is being utilized. That way, when you do have the ability to cut back, or when you think about it, most people will not stick to a budget when you start looking at 30, 60, 90 days. But if you're just jotting down kind of even on a calendar, whether it's in an application, kind of keeping a running tally of what you're spending your money on and where the money's going. This doesn't mean that you're spending, 30, 40, 50 minutes every single day budgeting. This means you're spending a minute or two, just kind of recap the day. And even if you don't hit all of the points, it's going to be okay, because at least, again, you're thinking in your mind of what you're spending, how you're spending. This is a really good daily practice. Updating this on a regular basis really makes a difference in really soaking in how much you spend. Also, you can kind of see your track record and where you're kind of running when it comes to what you're spending on a monthly basis. So there are, again, a lot of apps that do this. You can do it yourself. Only takes a couple minutes, and you'll get surprised that by the end of the week, a lot of people will cut out spending, because again, when it comes to the conscious spending and wanting the ability to not only save money, but budget properly and have money at the end of the month, there will be adjustments before you even realize it. The third one we talk about, and this of course is the budget and the flexibility that it does come with the spending plan. It is okay to move money around. A lot of people think when you stick to a certain budget, just like that cash envelope method, where if I put $200 away from groceries, that is it. I cannot spend any more. If you start to make your budget too strict, there is no way possible that you're really going to stick with it. When you start looking at what categories, and depending on what you know or what you can kind of foresee, that could be coming up, you can adjust your budget as needed. If you're spending a little bit more on a dining category, maybe a little bit less on fuel because now you're not commuting to work, you can flex that budget and see exactly where you can save some money. There might be a point in your life where you need to buy new clothes, you need new shoes. You can kind of, again, allocate and move money category to category, just knowing exactly how much you need for the week that is coming up. And if you think about it, even on a weekly basis, if you're spending 5 to 10 minutes during this budget, it can make it a lot more casual. It can make it a lot more easier to kind of track exactly where your money is going. And again, we're trying to get to the point and the cognizant kind of, realization of where the money is going and what you're planning for. But of course, when it comes to budgeting, there's one single thing that I stick to, bar none, which is the emergency fund. I cannot stress this enough when it comes to the emergency fund. There has to be a point in your life where you're going to have that emergency fund, whether it's a health bill, whether it's a home repair, a car repair, something unexpected is going to happen in your house, in your life. And of course, a lot of people will get very frustrated because they don't have money allocated aside in the budget, in the spending plan, whatever you want to call it. But overall, you cannot predict what is going to happen to you. And there are going to be things, it could even just be a couple $100 when you're starting out. Let's say, you got $500. And again, an individual that I'm working on the budgeting plan, really coming up, that is our goal. We are setting our goal at saving $500. That way the expense is set aside. There's actually a couple unexpected expenses that came up for an individual, but we have to make sure that we are getting back to that $500. Once we're there, we're going back to that debt repayment plan. And again, has to be really cognizant on what you're spending, where your money's going, and making sure you're not overspending in categories that you're not really looking at or really recognizing. And the last one, and this is something that I know a lot of people have a very, very big hurdle with, learning to say no to things. This is something where at a younger age, a lot of people don't understand that learning to say no or saying no can be very beneficial. When you start thinking of things that you need, we have wants, we have needs. I have a second grader that is actually going to third grade, but in second grade, they learned about needs and wants. They learned about money. They learned about counting money, using coins, using bills. And it's interesting to see going back to the fundamentals, even in second grade, they are learning about the needs and the wants. When you start looking at, having a house, having groceries, being able to eat, what kind of activities are really the need category that you need to cover? And what are the want category? What is going to the movies, going out to eat, looking at a structure and knowing exactly what you're planning. And you know what? Sometimes if it doesn't work into the budget, you just have to say no. Whether it is going, to an event or going to a concert, going on a weekend travel, a little getaway, there's going to have to be a point when you're going to have to say no to some of those smaller expenditures. And of course, this can also say learning to say no when it comes to impulse purchases. They estimate it is $2,000 to $3,000 a year, literally, that Americans are spending on impulse purchases, meaning it is things that we are seeing on checkout. Now, of course, marketers know exactly the ploy. We start seeing the cash registers. If you ever go to the grocery store, they are stacked with so many snacks, gift cards, everything you can imagine, just to really buy in and have that impulse purchase. But again, learning to say no does take a little bit of skill, and it does take a little bit of time. There might be things in your life that are very nice to have, but are they must-haves? Are they a necessity? Is it something that is going to be a game changer for you? And also thinking, what kind of value does it add? Is it an asset that is going to bring you something? And I can kind of go back to myself with more of a frugal mindset, and not so much the frugality like people kind of think about it, but I think about what is the value. So if I buy something, let's say a piece of clothes or a pair of shoes, that is a little more expensive, that is going to last me for 3 to 5 years. That is a lot better than buying 5 lower quality and lower cost shoes over that same time frame. And that's what I realized probably about 10 or 15 years ago, is putting a little bit more money into the things that I do love and I enjoy that are going to be super beneficial, like a new pair of shoes for work. Because I wear them every day, I have a lot of utility with them. I'm willing to spend a little bit more money to get better quality. Not only that, is they make you feel good. And also, when you start thinking of having your feet that are sore, having back pain, things of that nature, being a little bit more frugal with some things where you can expend a little bit more money on other things is definitely beneficial. So guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think about the budgeting hack and what you think about budgeting in general. I know, again, a lot of people have a very, very negative persona when it comes to budgeting, but there are people that love it, really stick to it. Me personally, I have a flexible budget. We have kind of a baseline of what we spend on a monthly basis, which are fixed expenses, but the rest of them, we kind of just move category to category. We know how much we have. And of course, the final bucket is what you have left over. The less that you're spending in the month, the less expenditures you have. It's either making more money or spending less money to have the ability to not only repay debt, but also to invest that money. Like I said, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.